the objective of many of the entries was to build a strong connection with consumers, and many of them actually made use of AR to create these experiences.
Augmented reality can have a customer experience being enhanced whilst they don't have to be at the physical location. I think we saw that in the case of Chevrolet in Korea was one of the entries where you could experience the car without having necessarily been in the showroom. It's all in the context of what needs to be delivered and whether it's meaningful.
For me, augmented reality is the technology, but especially allowing you to live experiences and be there at the right time in the right place. There was one especially which was allowing fathers in China were not allowed into the scanning room, allowing them to hear and feel the heartbeat of their babies, which I thought was a brilliant way to use the mobile technology.
So one good example was what Wild 8 did. They actually showcase the natural habitat of the pangolins and use AR to put across their message that this species needs to be protected, and that is a good way of tying both giving authenticity of the issue as well as the immediacy of being able to be there without physically being there.
Augmented reality allows you to know which shade of lipstick fits you best. And there is a whole area of opportunities that augmented reality allows. So in beauty categories, I would expect to see a lot more examples like that. I think as an industry, we're moving away from cookie tagging, which we thought we were really smart 5 years ago when we were doing cookie tagging, to pushing relevant contextual advertising when and where it matters. Everything where the outside conditions will impact the way you live, for instance, whether it's pollution, whether it's the light, the UV rays, whether you have frizzy hair and it's going to be stormy, and we can have all of this message being sent at the right time when you're really open to that type of communications.
So previously we have a lot of data, but not necessarily the infrastructure and the platform to execute the data that we have. But right now is the best time where we can tie in both together to bring about the best experience. So one example was geo-targeting and weather data. And that is what Pond's Train has done, showing the pollution in context of the out-of-home advertisement that they are doing. And that's a good example of how they tie in both sources and target people at the right moment in time.
We always talked about consumer segments. We've always talked about influencer. We've always talked about tribalism. And so trying to form groups based upon their specifics is very natural. I think the depth on which we can measure those specifics, the speed with which we can do that's the difference.
So one area where mobile is really helping us going from the individual to the community is gaming, because you have all these people who have the same interest and they want to play the same game at the same time, and mobile allows us to get them to play together. And when you can bring a brand into the game, like Pizza Hut did in China, then they get all these gamers to their outlets. And that's where they use customization at scale in a way to gather, to bring the community together. For now, there is probably the earlier stages of customization at scale. We expect to see way more approaches like that, where you bring people with similar interests together. So we're all grappling with the idea of the ROI of digital, and I think mobile advertising is one area where we can expect to see more and better examples of ROI and performance, because mobile allows us to track exactly the actions that were taken by the consumers when we send the message, and it can be instant.
Because in the future I see outdoor, car, a mobile device. Those are the three parts that help for ultimate contextualization and targeting. As we move into an era where you can address the customer of one, relevance becomes more important. And relevance for me equals user experience.
Next year, hopefully more entries will weave in the new technology, especially voice activation, facial recognition, so that we have more new flavor in our campaigns in this region. So it could be making use of geo-targeting at a deeper level, especially now we have Google Wi-Fi and telco players jumping into geo-targeting as well. The other bit is on e-payments, because fintech players are also up and coming, especially the recent Grab. Grab has actually entered into digital payments as well. So that's something that it will be good to have the whole seamless integration of the ecosystem.
I was very happy with the fact that this year there were more countries that were winning and more advertisers than one or two. You have a very young population that embraces mobile, that doesn't necessarily follows the same linear path in adoption as the West. And so you should see different user experiences and different models coming out of those countries.